So I have this little treasure box, and I have this pendant I found back in 2015 in my old house. It's a heart pendant with cursive engraved into it. It says Betty Louise. The house was built in 1940 where I found it. And I did some research, and I believe she passed away in 2017, a couple years after I found it. So I'd like to get this back to her family or in the right hands, so let's do it. I began my search for Betty. Around the time I found the pendant, there was no information to be found. Today, 9 years later, I decided to give it another shot. I started with a quick Google search, and to my surprise, I located someone with the exact name. This was due to an obituary from 2017. Reading through the obituary, I saw the woman lived most of her life in California. Could this be the Betty that we were looking for? As I scrolled down, I noticed it lists her children, which says one of them is located in my city. I knew then we more than likely had the right person. Now it was time to find one of her children to contact. I first found her son, who lives in my city, but ultimately located her daughter through his page. A quick look through her photos told me that this would be the right person to send the pendant to. I sent a message saying, "Hi there. I was reaching out because I found a personal item that I believe belonged to Betty Louise. It is a pendant with her name on it. I found it in 2015 in the front yard of my old house." I eventually got a hold of her, and she verified that Betty was indeed her mother. I told her my grandfather owned 5 properties at the time on the corner where it was found, and also ran a carpet and tile store. She told me she grew up in the late 1950s just down the street, but wasn't sure why it was found in the exact house it was. Betty's daughter and I went back and forth for a few messages trying to connect the dots. She told me her family lived on various streets in the neighborhood where it was found, and even guessed what elementary school I had attended. I asked her if this was Betty in the picture. She said yes. This was her mom Betty, as well as her father on the left, and in the middle was her great-grandmother Benson, who used to make the best peanut butter cookies. She was very thankful I reached out about sending the pendant to her. Betty's daughter now lives in Massachusetts. I knew it was time to get the pendant to her. In my opinion, metal detecting brings you closer to history than anything. You pull items from the ground that once belonged to someone. They may have dropped it 100 years ago and you're the first to touch it. There's something special about that, especially when there's a story behind it. I'm glad I could return this pendant to someone who will cherish it and pass it down from generation to generation.